Guys, listen, I really didn't want to make this video because I felt like it was so bland. Talking about water is so dry. Hear me out. I know that talking about water is not the most exciting thing in the world, but it's very important because, as we were saying last week, water is only second to air in terms of substances that we need for survival. So if we're going to be talking about drinking a lot of water, we got to make sure we're drinking the right kind of water and not drinking water that is toxic, because that will just harm us. Water is intended to heal our body and to help our body flourish and do the things it needs to do. But if we're consuming water that is loaded up with things that will hinder our body, we're just going to end up not supporting ourselves and actually harming ourselves. So in last week's video, we talked about why water is important and how much of it to drink. But in this video, we're going to be talking about some substances, 4 substances of many that are in our tap water, why we should be avoiding them. And then we're also looking at 3 really common, popular water filtration systems to get rid of those 4 substances. Just to begin, 3 water filtration systems that we're discussing, those 3 common ones are carbon filters, reverse osmosis filters, and distillation, distilled water. And let's just dive into those 4 substances that we don't want to be consuming that are very likely in our tap water. The first one is chlorine. Water goes through water treatment plants in order to remove things that we don't want in our water, like leaves and debris, but then things are added like chlorine as disinfectants to clean our water. But the issue with this highly corrosive disinfectant is that every time. The issue with this highly corrosive disinfectant is that it can react with other organic chemicals in the water, and it creates compounds called trihalomethanes. And trihalomethanes are carcinogenic, so they're cancer causing. So we don't want to be consuming those. So looking at our 3 water filtration systems, carbon filters do remove chlorine, but reverse osmosis doesn't, and distilled water does. So it's a good thing to keep in mind. The second thing that is on our list of harmful substances that are in our water are fluoride. Super controversial, I know. Most tap water is fluoridated, and it's fluoridated for the purpose of preventing tooth decay. It totally prevents tooth decay, but there is a lot of controversy and so many different opinions regarding the necessity of fluoride. That's something that you kind of have to come to decide for yourself. The thing is that consuming fluoride long-term, excess fluoride, can be super harmful to our health. Fluoride toxicity is called fluorosis, and recent studies actually show a link between consuming maximal amounts of fluoride and cancer, specifically bone cancer, and specifically in men. So that's something that we should kind of keep in mind. If you do want to not have additional fluoride coming into your body, if that's something that you've decided, then I would also remove conventional toothpastes, because those also have added fluoride. If you have a good diet and a good lifestyle and very good oral hygiene, I don't believe that fluoride is completely necessary. And I'm talking about excess fluoride in our water and in our toothpaste. So again, looking at our 3 filtration systems, carbon filters do not remove fluoride, but reverse osmosis and distillation both remove fluoride. Third toxic substances on our list are pesticides and herbicides. Pesticides and herbicides get into our water from agricultural and industrial practices. They get into our soil and they run off and get into our water. These are problematic, and these are examples of organic chemicals that react with chlorine to create those trihalomethanes, which are carcinogenic, aka cancerous. So when we look at our 3 water filtration systems, carbon, reverse osmosis, and distillation all remove pesticides and herbicides. The final thing on our list of substances that we don't want to be consuming in excess that are present in our tap water are heavy metals. Heavy metals, for example, lead. As most of us know, lead is a problem, and it is more so a problem for people who live in homes or work in buildings that are 30 years plus, because a major source, a major avenue of lead toxicity is eroding pipes, and those are especially common in places that are 30 plus years. And heavy metals are a problem especially for children who are more prone to lead toxicity and heavy metal toxicity. The way that heavy metals work is that when they come into your body, they push out, they dispel and they replace essential minerals and interrupt those minerals from doing their own job. Lead is an example. Lead gets stored in our tissues and in our bones, and it pushes out calcium, so calcium can't do its job. So over time, this becomes a really big problem if calcium can't do its job. And the bigger issue is that lead, heavy metals in general, are really, really difficult to remove from the body. So you don't want to be exposing yourself to or consuming heavy metals. Not a good idea. Going back to our 3 filters, all 3 filtration systems remove heavy metals. Carbon, most of the time removes heavy metals. You just got to make sure you're getting the right filter. So just to sum up, the 4 toxic substances to avoid in our tap water that were on our list were chlorine, fluoride, pesticides and herbicides, and heavy metals. And of our 3 filters, carbon removes pretty much everything except fluoride. Reverse osmosis removes everything except chlorine, and distillation removes everything. So I think that it's very important when it comes to something like this, or really anything to do with health, it's really important to do your own research to come to decide what the right thing for you is. So I would do additional research to figure out what the right filtration system for you is. One thing that you could do is test your tap water, do a quick search online to see what the water source is in your area, where your water is coming from, and what the regulations and standards are on your water. And if you want to take it a step further, you can purchase water test strips from Amazon, or I'm not really sure where else to get them, but I know they sell them on Amazon, and they will test for everything that we just talked about and probably a few more substances that we haven't mentioned. Not to recommend one specifically, but I personally have a carbon filter on my fridge and I use water from there, and I also have access to distilled water on a regular basis, so I use both. You don't just have to use one. It is very difficult and very unlikely to get away from contaminated water 100%, but it is very important to reduce our exposure as much as possible, because these substances build up in the body and they can cause a lot of problems. And the thing with health is that there is no one answer. There is no one reason that caused this or one thing that caused that. And it's very difficult to trace things down and be like, oh, this is what caused this for me. It is much easier and much more advisable to live a preventative lifestyle, as opposed to take an approach when you have something that is really going wrong to be like, okay, now I'll go back and do all the right things. Thank you guys so much for watching. Again, another video on water. If there's anything you'd like to add, if there's anything I missed or got wrong, please leave it in the comments, share with me, and I'm excited to hear back from you. If you look over here in this little tiny corner, there is a little logo, and if you just hover over it, you're going to see a subscribe button, and you should click it. I think you should click it, and shoot me a thumbs up if you liked this video, if you liked the content, if you want more health related videos, and if you didn't like it, it's okay. You can give me a thumbs down. I'd like to know. And yeah, reach out to me. I'd love to hear from you. I'll see you guys next time.